I remember very well the morning in Barbados when we got together to sign the original documentation that formed PANCAP. In retrospect, I'm not sure that I realized what a historic occasion it was.
It started at a time when it was a recognition that if we did not intervene, the Caribbean, which then had the second highest prevalence rate in the world, was really doomed to lose a lot of its productive forces, especially its young people, where the rates had been most prevalent.
Every now and then, some crisis forces us to recognize that functional cooperation that we've had historically is something that we need to strengthen, to energize further. And HIV and AIDS was one of those crises that reminded us that we've always had this tool. PANCAP was the Caribbean looking back and see that we've always had functional cooperation as a tool, and whenever we're in crisis, it serves us well.
We had very committed people who indeed made the case for assistance to the Caribbean. I recall Dr. Barry Wint. He had a passion about advocating for the structure that we now had. But he was supported by a group of very, very dynamic external partners in UNAIDS. I recall the executive director of UNAIDS, Peter Piot, who really was a stalwart and who understood that the Caribbean was different and that it needed to organize its response to AIDS very differently.
To have an organization exclusively dedicated and blessed by the heads of government of CARICOM be leading the Caribbean's response and enabling, facilitating, and procuring the level of funding that is required to empower small NGOs as well as established ones for the greater good is something that should not be dismissed.
When I joined PANCAP, there was no staff. I came to manage a project with funding from the European Union, and that signaled the first block of funds ever received by PANCAP to do any of this work. Almost simultaneously, in September of that same year, UNAIDS seconded one of its staff members to PANCAP to help to begin to build this structure.
Dr. Cynthia Iledu spent, I think, 4 years with PANCAP from 2001 to 2005 to help CARICOM to establish PANCAP and start managing the different projects.
The first PANCAP project was on institutional strengthening. A lot of work went into that in terms of providing staff support and salaries and training for people. And we're very pleased that all of these regional institutions have now come to the point where they can deliver effective service to the people of the region.
UWI was one of the agencies that was included in that proposal, and under that umbrella we were able to do a range of things, including health economics assessment studies, which were done in Suriname, Barbados, and in Guyana.
PANCAP worked with the University of the West Indies and created 27 new courses around HIV. Through chart, more than 16,000 persons have been trained, healthcare and other professionals have been trained over the last 3-4 years.
Around that time in 2004, that UNAIDS identified PANCAP as an international best practice.
And PANCAP was awarded this in 2004. It was because of the amazing effort to pull together countries, civil society, donors into a partnership, something that hadn't existed before in the Caribbean, and something that actually was achieving a goal that we all wanted to see, which was that multi-sectoral, multi-partner type of arrangement.
This lady gave me pills, and I could not believe I left her office with a plastic bag with 10 sets of pills, and I got scared because then that's when the reality of what I had just started to sink in.
By 2002, the prices throughout the Caribbean had been reduced from about $15,000 US per person per year down to between $800 and $1,500 US. And that was the first real accomplishment of PANCAP.
In Barcelona, led by Prime Minister Douglas, we engaged 5 of the major drug companies in the world. And we put the case to them that the Caribbean simply could not afford to meet these costs. And we brokered a deal.
And since then, virtually 100% across the board, people have access to antiretroviral medicine.
It was this era, this PANCAP era, if you will, of the last 10 years that has seen such a remarkable difference in the region of people getting on ARVs and the dramatic responses in these patients. In the pre-therapy era, stigma and discrimination was rife, and much more so than it is now, where families put their sons and daughters out of their homes, get out, and now just onto the streets.
It's not easy. It's not easy to disclose that. It takes a certain level of one, personal conviction, firstly, and a lot of courage. Because when you go out there on national television, you have no idea. It's after you do it, you go home and you think, like, oh, I wonder who's seen this interview or watched this thing that I did, and how people are going to respond to me in the streets. And so I felt that if we presented positive people who were healthy and who could articulate well, who were intelligent, and it just changed the whole dynamics of the HIV/AIDS situation in terms of stigma and discrimination.
In the Caribbean, there's a whole lot of social and cultural resistance to some of the aspects of human rights. Some of it enshrined in law, and how do you move that? But PANCAP has just done that work. We now have, we are pleased to say that we have model policies and model legislation that will promote human rights, and that has had endorsement from all of the countries and all of the institutions. The PANCAP Stigma Unit is established in Barbados, and the purpose of that unit is to do research around stigma, to identify best practices that we can use to reduce stigma, and then to work with countries to help them implement these best practices. That's a project that we have that is out of Barbados with funding support from DFID.
The work of the Regional Stigma and Discrimination Unit builds on some of the initiatives that PANCAP has already done in the area of stigma and discrimination. For example, they have produced through projects working with the Alliance anti-stigma and discrimination toolkits, which address stigma with PLHIV, and these tools have been used in a number of the initiatives that have been conducted thus far through the Stigma Unit. And we've been able to see initial successes where we've seen PLHIV speak out. They're more empowered to speak out and advocate at the highest level.
It was very powerful when, for me, as a person living with HIV, to be in a meeting in St. Lucia, sitting at a table with lawyers who learned lawyers, discussing law reform and discussing policy, and knowing that my voice as a PL was just as and equally as important as that lawyer with his degree from wherever. and that my concerns were taken into consideration. And I think that's a very powerful message that PANCAP sends by ensuring that they do that.
The biggest impact PANCAP has had on my life, I would think, is that it has been a journey for me, and a journey that I guess I had, it was almost like free-falling. But in all, I always tell people that perhaps getting a positive diagnosis has been the best thing that ever happened to me. It has been truly a blessing. But I myself was one of the original 6 signatories to the creation of PANCAP back in 2001. And at that time, as an organization of people living with HIV and AIDS and virtually unknown, I think it was a strategic thing to do, because it opened many, many doors for us that otherwise would not have opened if we were not part of the PANCAP movement. So in that regard, I credit PANCAP with really establishing CRN Plus as a legitimate bona fide Caribbean organization. And also over the years, they have been one of the champions in ensuring that there is technical assistance and financial support in strengthening the organization.
We have a complex region. We have a region of many countries. Yeah, and somewhere amongst that, there needs to be coordination. That's what the Caribbean Regional Strategic Framework does. It provides something that everyone identifies to, and that everyone could buy into, and that everyone could play a role within that response. The Caribbean Regional Strategic Framework drives our agenda. We work very much within the context of that strategic framework. And PANCAP, at the end of the day, is responsible for the implementation and the oversight of that.
The Caribbean Regional Strategic Framework that PANCAP developed has really been the guide for the region and for the countries in developing their national strategic plans, and also for PEPFAR. You know, we have really aligned our strategy in the partnership framework with the CRSF and with the national strategic plans in all the countries that we're working in.
The notion of Pan-Caribbean was a very innovative notion and very visionary notion, because to a certain point, the Caribbean as a region was, in terms of HIV response, was divided into the CARICOM member countries and then the other Caribbean. And we know that HIV do not have geographical boundaries, and more than that, in this region, we do share the population, we share the culture, and there is an important movement between the different Caribbean countries. So the PANCAP vision of initiating a Pan-Caribbean approach was definitely needed in the fight against HIV/AIDS, and that has been a big asset.
PANCAP is built on partnerships, ensuring that all of the members are pulling together and contributing for the general good, and I think that is critical.
I think media is an invaluable partner. I approached PANCAP because of their regional reach to approach the Ministries of Health and the Departments of Health in the Caribbean so that they could be mobilized to do the testing. Obviously, they have the resources. We wanted to be able to have a radio and television campaign that would inform people about the locations for testing. And then through PANCAP, we would then get the responses and the reports from the various ministries about the results of testing day. Last year, in 2009, we got 14 countries, and this year we got 18 countries. So the first year we had over 2,000 people being tested, the second year over 5,000, and this year over 8,000.
As a participant of the Live Up campaign, under CMBP in partnership with PANCAP, the Ministry of Health National HIV/STI Program. I was one of the young faces that represented the Caribbean youth as it relates to HIV/AIDS issue. You talk to a lot of young people, they can talk about our Caribbean music, they can talk about our food, and so definitely there's a sharing as it relates to culture, etc. And so there should be that concentration to look within the different countries within the region and to make sure that there's a coordinating body to oversee the response of the Caribbean region, the concentration of the epidemic in the Caribbean region, and how is it that we're reaching the different most at-risk populations within the region.
The PANCAP's mini-grant program, it allows young people, youth ambassadors right across the region to be able to do activities in different communities. We go in Montego Bay, Kingston, that's just here in Jamaica, but across the region in the other parts of the Caribbean, you know, they do different interventions.
You use a condom? Every time?
Yeah.
So when you get the baby? Come here! Did you use a condom when you get the baby? So when you get the baby, you use a condom? Oh, the condom burst.
Start from this side. Just tell me something that resonated with you this evening, something that we did that you actually, it's the first time that you're...
I think PANCAP is becoming more aware of, you know, the benefits of having the mini-grants program and having youth involvement, because it definitely adds that peer-to-peer connection.
So I talk to him, say, look here now, you need to use condom.
Try to imagine a world without PANCAP in the Caribbean in 2010. It would take a lot more effort, a lot more cost, a lot more people to achieve the same amount of benefit that we have seen because we have PANCAP. What PANCAP does is PANCAP makes it much easier for every country to benefit from resources, from technical expertise, as opposed to every country trying to start from scratch and basically recreating the wheel from scratch. That's what PANCAP's done.
People may give pause to when I say I do this because for me it's unconditional love, you know, and it's not really about anything else, and that is what people don't get it. They don't get it at all. So people keep saying, you know, and sometimes we quarrel, but we always make up, because at the end of the day we're all Caribbean people, and at the end of the day, if we don't support each other, there's nothing like family. At the end of the day, all the donors will come and go, and we will still be here with each other.
PANCAP, go the strong. Continue the good work, and congratulations to the leadership, and congratulations to all of the membership that has been keen in moving forward this agenda.
You've been a beacon for the Caribbean.
The community of people living with HIV need people like you to keep advocating for us.
We charge you to make sure that while you're responding to our CSW, MSM population, that young people are also on the forefront of your agenda.
Great folks to work with, have been very open and transparent and sharing information to address problems or issues, I guess, as they come up and challenges. So happy anniversary.
It was an honor and a privilege for me to be present at the actual signing of PANCAP 10 years ago. To see our leaders in this region working towards something with such earnest and passion and commitment was a really influential thing for me as a young professional at the time.
PANCAP really deserves to be commended for taking what was a very difficult job and what none of us really understood fully when PANCAP began, and for making itself now seem as if its existence and its contribution is so inevitable.
The heads of government who had the vision to institute and call for the institution or development of this regional mechanism, the Pan-Caribbean Partnership Against AIDS, also need to be congratulated.
On behalf of the entire team at Associates for International Development, I'd like to congratulate PANCAP for a sterling response to stigma and discrimination throughout the region.
PANCAP Grattis på 10-årsdagen. Jag hoppas att ni fortsätter så här. Hälsningar från Sverige.
It's been a long journey. We've come a long way, baby. We have a long way to go.
Thanks, PANCAP. Happy 10th anniversary.
Congratulations.
So congratulations to PANCAP on his 10th birthday.